The smell of charcoal and cheap beer hung thick in the air, a veneer of normalcy masking something far more sinister. My brother had invited me to a family barbecue, a forced reunion I desperately wanted to avoid, but the fleeting visions I'm cursed with, they weren't just memories. They were warnings. And tonight, the flavor of the burgers was something I would never forget. The summer air clung to me, heavy and humid, saturated with the scent of overripe grass and something acrid, like burnt sugar. My brother, Mike, stood beaming, all boisterous energy and forced joviality. "So glad you could make it," he cried, his voice echoing across the manicured lawn. "Hi, Mike," I managed, a strained smile plastered on my face. "Long time no see." He went to embrace me, but I instinctively recoiled, holding up a gloved hand. "A gloved handshake will do." Mike's smile faltered, a flicker of disappointment crossing his features. He knew why I always wore gloves. He just never understood. These weren't just a quirky preference. They were a shield against a curse, against the flood of memories that would overwhelm me if I dared to touch someone's skin. He's been going through a rough patch. Another breakup, and, true to family form, he's decided a massive barbecue was the answer. I usually avoided these gatherings like the plague. My therapist, bless her heart, had urged me to try, to engage. Engage with a room full of people whose memories I didn't want, couldn't handle. My cousins and uncles were clustered around a cooler of beer, their laughter bouncing off the pristine white fence. The aunties were huddled together, gossiping in hushed tones. The children, oblivious, tore across the lawn, shrieking with glee. It was a tableau of suburban contentment, but beneath the surface, I felt a rising tide of unease. "All right, everyone," Mike announced, his voice booming. "Burgers will be ready in just a few minutes." He clapped his hands, attempting to reignite the festive atmosphere. He left me alone, swallowed by the growing throng of relatives, ready to unleash the familiar litany of questions. My internal monologue had already begun its weary refrain. I laughed and smiled, a mechanical response to their prodding. No, I wasn't married yet. The pitying glances felt like a physical weight. Plow. I still lived in an apartment. I wanted to vanish. Guess I still prefer long sleeves. An attempt at self-protection. No, I'm not cold. They couldn't comprehend the chilling truth. Watching Mike effortlessly command the room, I was reminded why I kept my distance. He was everything I wasn't, outgoing, confident, unburdened. He seemed to possess a careless ease that I could only dream of. Ever since I was a child, I've been plagued by flashes, visions that erupted whenever I touched someone's skin. A chaotic jumble of memories, some comforting, most terrifying. I'd seen snippets of lives I never lived, felt emotions I'd never experienced. The doctors called it a neurological anomaly. My parents, they called me a freak. They'll never admit the truth. Mike, however, seemed unaffected by my affliction. Where I retreated into myself, he embraced the world. He chopped wood with bare hands, ground his own meat, built things with a raw, instinctive talent. He seemed to have a limitless supply of girlfriends, each one replaced with alarming regularity. He never seemed to carry any secrets, any regrets. He was, in every sense of the word, perfect. "All right, y'all," Mike bellowed from behind the grill, the aroma of sizzling meat hanging in the air. "Food's done." The family surged forward, eager to partake. I braced myself, knowing what was about to happen. As I chewed on the first bite of the burger, the vision slammed into me with brutal force. Rough hands clamping down on throats, a phantom knife slicing through ribs, the whirring of machinery like a metal heartbeat. Dozens of terrified faces, contorted in silent screams. And through it all, looming over to chaos, a single, horrifying image, my brother's face, his eyes filled with a chilling, predatory gleam. Each memory was fleeting, fragmented, but the terror was palpable. I gagged, fighting back the bile that threatened to erupt. I looked at Mike, pleading, praying that there was some other explanation, some rational explanation for the horrors playing out behind my eyes. "Hey, Mike," Uncle George asked, his voice laced with a forced cheerfulness. "What sort of meat is this again?" Mike smiled, a slow, unsettling curve of his lips. He looked right through me, his eyes devoid of any warmth or recognition. "Oh, you know," he began, his voice taking on a subtly different tone, a tone I'd never noticed before. "It's a mix." He was smiling. The taste of the burger lingered on my tongue, a sickening blend of char and something indescribably wrong. The mix. What had my brother mixed into the burgers? What secrets were hidden within this carefully constructed facade of family happiness?